I'm Anna.
And I'm Audrey.
And this is part one of the Pointe Shoe CAS project. So this is going to be the out of the Pointe shoe portion of the video. So we're going to go over getting your Pointe shoes, sewing your Pointe shoes, what to do to break them in, what to do to your feet, and how to better your dance career on Pointe. So yeah, we're excited. Let's get going. So the first thing you're going to do when you get told you get to go on Pointe shoes is you're going to go to the Pointe store or just the dance store in your area. For us Columbia dancers, we're going to head to Turning Point, which has an awesome supply of Pointe shoes. So once you get there, you're probably going to want your dance teacher there, especially for your first fitting. But even Turning Point, like most dance stores, have professional fitters to help you figure out which Pointe shoes work best for your feet. So once you get started on your Pointe shoes, you're gonna have a bar just like this, and they're gonna bring you Pointe shoes galore, and you're just gonna try shoe on after shoe. So the really big, important part of Pointe shoe fitting is to make sure you're honest. If something really hurts, definitely say something about it. However, when you're first starting out Pointe, everything is kind of tight, and it does hurt a little bit, but if it is excruciating, then you definitely wanna say something about it. And so once you figure out the shoes that you're gonna buy, you're gonna head out of the store with your box of pretty new Pointe shoes, and you're gonna start out with very simple supplies. So definitely get whatever your teacher recommends for you. Here, we normally get just satin ribbons and a pair of elastics, and we head out and we start our Pointe. So now we're gonna talk about the ribbons on your Pointe shoes. So there are 3 types of ribbons that I have personally used in my dance career. So the first one that you're going to start out with as a beginner dancer is the just full-on satin. So as you can see, the satin has no, it doesn't come to any shape. It is the shape it is. So as you can see, there's no elasticity to it. It's exactly how it is. So the really important part about it is to make sure that when you tie them tight so they don't bag after you tie them on your ankle. So they're awesome, especially for dancers who have more bendy feet. They hold a lot and they help support your ankle a lot, which is really helpful when you're a beginner dancer. So as you move on, there are other options of ribbons, and this is an example of the full stretch ribbon. So as you can see, it's very stretchy and it does very well at just forming to your ankle, and you usually don't have very much tension to it. So it's not super painful, but you definitely want to be strong in your shoes before you start and move on to your stretch ribbons. And the next option, which is one of my personal favorites, is what they call flexors. So this is specifically for dancers who may struggle with tendonitis, Achilles tendonitis. I personally don't struggle with Achilles tendonitis, but I really love these because of the look of the satin. So as you can see, this whole portion right at the shoe is satin, but as you move up, it's elastic, and then it continues to be satin. So I love the look of a satin ribbon, but I want the elasticity that a stretch ribbon can give me. And with the flexors, I get both of them. So the elastic hits right at my ankle, which helps relieve some of the tension from the satin, and I just tie it like a normal ribbon, and I really like these ribbons. Alright, so now since we talked about ribbons, we've got to talk about elastics. So the point of elastics is to help support your foot in your Pointe shoe along with just keeping your foot in the Pointe shoe. So personally, I use just the loop method. So as you can see, I sew right near the end of the back seam of the Pointe shoe, and I just sew right there where it gives me enough support. And I really like this method. It holds well, and because I don't have super bendy feet, this works perfectly well for me.
Okay, so I used to use the loop method, but when I switched to these shoes, I was asked to do the other method by my teacher. So I do the double loop method or the crisscross method, and these shoes aren't beautifully sewn, but I sew just like the loop method, 2 in the back, except for there are 2 separate elastics, which I sew back there, and then I bring those over the top to the opposite where I did the ribbon, and I sew those together on the shoe so that they make a crisscross, and it's just added support for your shoe. It helps to bring the shoe up and attach it more to your foot, like it helps it to be closer and attached to your foot better, and pull that up, and just really adds all of the support so that your foot is staying in your shoe and not pointing out of it or just being in a dangerous situation.
Alrighty, so to go along with the ribbons and the elastics, we're going to talk about the needle and thread that you can use. So at the dance store, at Turning Point, they have needle and thread for you. So the thread will be kind of a pink color to go with your pointe shoes, and they have pretty large size needles. And this is a good example of what it is. This one is from the store, and it was in the Bunheads sewing kit. But as I got through the thread and I used all the thread up, I moved on to using floss. And so what I use is unwaxed dental floss from CVS. It works perfectly fine and it's super sturdy. I've never had a problem with an elastic or ribbon come off ever since I started using it. So as you can see, this is just the amount I use, and this will give you a solid pair of elastics, and it's perfectly enough. So yeah. Alright, so now I'm going to use an old pointe shoe as an example to where to sew your ribbons and elastics. So as you can see, the ribbons I put right where my arch is at its highest point. So on these blocks, it's right where this inner seam is, and that's exactly where I sew my ribbons. And for the elastics, like I previously said, I tie them pretty close just to the inner seam of them, and I put in a good amount of elastics in order to have more support as possible. And then you just sew them up your ankle. About toe pads. So toe pads are vital to a ballet dancer because they protect your feet and your toes from the pointe shoe and the continuous rub. It doesn't exactly mean that you're not going to have any blisters or bruised toenails, but it definitely helps prevent it. So now we're going to just talk about the different types of toe pads that you will have as a dancer, or the options that you have. So starting out, you're probably going to start out with some lamb's wool toe pads. As you can see, these have gotten very thin, but I've worn these numerous of times. When you first get them, they're very fluffy, but once you start wearing them in, they get very flattened down. These really help with the sweating, and so if you get really bad blisters, especially from the sweating, then I highly recommend the lamb's wool. The next toe pad that I prefer using is what they call as gel. So these are Russian point gels. I also use Ouch Pouch Juniors, but these are also available online and at dance stores. So these just have a little bit more cushion and they don't flatten. The shape they come in as is the shape they're gonna stay as. And these are super comfortable as well. And then the next option for dancers who may really like to feel the floor are socks. So this is just a pair of socks that got cut, and as you can see, they're shaped just like the other toe pads, but all you're gonna do is slip it on your foot and they work perfectly fine. The other types of options are no toe pads, which are usually for the dancers who really want a tight feel on their pointe shoes. And there's also the option of paper towels. So paper towels are really awesome for when you have sweaty feet or you like the thin toe pad feel but still want some form of padding. The only thing with paper towels is that you're gonna have to change them out, because once the sweat gets them, it'll break down the toe pad or the paper towel. But once you enjoy using them, then just stick with it. So on top of toe pads, you can also wear toe tape. And you don't go to the store and just buy toe tape because they usually don't have it labeled as toe tape. However, I'm just gonna give you a little tips and tricks on what I buy and what other dancers buy here at the studio. So one of the most popular toe tapes is the Next Care cushion waterproof tape. It comes in like this peachy color, and as you can see, it's very cushiony, especially on your toes. And so it easily just tears off like this, and then you just stick it on the place you want to. Usually a blister, a bruised toenail, anything that you think might potentially cause pain, this is there for that. Another tape that I personally really like is what's called cloth tape. So it's just this white tape, and you can buy this from Walgreens, CVS, this grocery store. They usually have it anywhere. And so cloth tape is really helpful if you don't want a lot of padding in your shoe, but you still want to prevent from having blisters. And I really enjoy using that. And the next thing that I use when I'm having a pain crisis is what's called second skin squares. So these little blue squares are just little gel cushioning almost, really. I really use them if I have bruised toenails, ingrown toenails, and sometimes, if the case may be, really bad blisters. But I try not to use them because they are a little pricey, but you can definitely find them on Amazon because they're made out of Australia, so they don't sell them in just any other store. Another really good thing to use is just plain Band-Aids. So especially if you have a blister and you don't want to put just straight up tape on the blister, Band-Aids are really helpful to make sure that there's padding over your blister, but it won't be super painful when you rip off the toe tape or the Band-Aid. So yeah, so that's the toe tape you can have. Alright, so now we're going to move on to one of the most important sections of this video, and that is taking care of your feet. And so in order to take care of your feet, you have to listen to your feet. You have to know when it's hurting, when it's inflamed, when it's swollen. And so I'm just going to give a few tips and tricks that I've learned, that I've talked with my teachers, what I've talked with fellow dancers, and how we relieve that inflammation, that pain, or that swollen. And one of the huge things that continues to pop up when I ask those questions is arnica gel. So this literally, the main thing it has on it is pain relief. And it works miracles. It's for muscle pain and stiffness, swelling from injuries, or bruising. And so one of the main places that I use this is right on my Achilles and on my arch. And that they really help after a long rehearsal day, after shows, after intensives. It's extremely vital to keeping care of my feet. The next thing that I really love using, and I usually use this in the morning of a long day. The arnica gel I use after a long day, and this is what I use at the beginning of a long day. And this is called Deep Blue Rub. It has an essential oil in it, and it really helps just calm and relax my muscles to prepare for the day. And so it's super vital to my dancing. And the next thing that I use just to help stretch out my muscles is a golf ball, and I'll show y'all what I do specifically in a little bit. And so two of the other things that are usually popularly used among dancers is the Epsom salt and icing. So Epsom salt, you can do this full body or just your feet, or you can target whatever you want to. But usually what I do is I get a bucket and I put some pretty warm water in there, and then I just put Epsom salt. You can find Epsom salt at any store really, Walgreens, CVS, grocery stores. It's very easy to find. And so just pour a little Epsom salt with some warm water in a bucket and just keep your feet in there for about 15 minutes. This is awesome if you have blisters too, because it helps dry those blisters out, so it won't be as painful the next time you're on point. And then the icing method is extremely well used method of reducing swollen feet, inflamed feet, anything really. They help a lot. So just like the Epsom salt, put some ice in a bucket with some room temperature water and just ice your feet for about 15 minutes, and it extremely helps. And the very last thing that you can do this in rehearsal, during lunch, and that's just elevating your feet. Once you're standing up so much, all of the blood goes down to your feet, which really increases the inflammation and the swelling. But once you elevate your feet for about 10 to 15 minutes, it just really helps you get ready for that latter part of rehearsal. So we're gonna do anatomy of the pointe shoe, and I've got Audrey right here, and we're gonna give Audrey a little bit of a trivia to see if she knows every part of the pointe shoe.
This could go badly.
All right, so we're gonna start out pretty easy. All right, Audrey, so what is the main sole of the pointe shoe?
That is the shank.
Yes, all right, she got that one. So now we're gonna go on to this part of the pointe shoe.
She almost said it. That is the box of the pointe shoe.
Exactly. Okay, and now I'm gonna make it a little hard. What is just this part of the pointe shoe?
Is that the platform?
Yes! That is the platform already. And now we're gonna go to this part of the box, and it's perpendicular with the platform, but it's just this front part where your toes are leaning against it.
Oh, that's the vamp, and that one's
Exactly.
important. You gotta know your vamp height.
You do
for
know your
pointe shoe
vamp.
sizing.
Exactly. And that's pretty much the gist. And then bonus question, what are these?
Those are the drawstrings.
Exactly. All right, and that's the anatomy of the pointe shoe. Jet glue. So jet glue is really important for pointe shoes, and more about the life of your pointe shoes. So jet glue, I highly recommend getting it, but I highly recommend to be very, very patient and just really conserve it, because if you put too much jet glue on your pointe shoe, then it's gonna make it extremely hard to dance. But first, I must explain what jet glue is. So jet glue comes in, jet glue comes in this little bottle and it's almost like a chemical glue, and it's very liquidy, as you can see. But as soon as you pour it, you want to pour it in the right spot because it's going to harden whatever it touches. So personally, I always break in the very side of my pointe shoes right here. And so I always just jet glue the inside of my pointe shoe, and you have to let it dry for at least a good 24 hours is recommended, but anything works. Just don't inhale the fumes and don't touch the jet glue at all. So.
Thank you guys for watching our video, and I hope that was very helpful for you guys and that you are prepared for your first pair of pointe shoes.
Yes, and congratulations.
Congratulations. Bye.
Bye. Oh, it's already filming.